Thank you, Erika, for this kind introduction. Dear friends and colleagues, first of all, I would like to thank the coordination team at THL for the wonderful evening yesterday. I think we all enjoyed the evening, and it was really nice event. So Daniela and me, we will present on Work Package 7. We will present on behalf of the entire coordination team at RKI, on behalf of our co-lead INME, and of the task leaders and working group leaders, and also, of course, of the entire partners, 39 partners in our work package. Let's start with the specific objectives in our work packages. We have two specific objectives. First, on strengthen laboratory preparedness and responsiveness by performing external quality assurance exercises and evaluation of diagnostic approaches to ensure best practices. The second specific objective was directed to improving and consolidating biosafety procedures and biorisk management in the laboratories, and we want to develop a safe inactivation procedure for highly pathogenic agents. To do so, we have set in specific objective 1 two tasks. The first task is on EQAs, the second on diagnostic approaches, where we set 3 specialized working group on specific topics. This is on NGS, basic diagnostic, and AST. And to complete the specific objective for 2, we set the task 3 on biorisk management. Accordingly, we have 3 deliverables in our project, and we are just now preparing accordingly 3 reports and hope to complete it soon. So with this, I switch to Daniela and I come back later.
Thank you, Roland. A warm welcome from my side. And coming to the specific objective 4.1, the 2 process indicators were fulfilled. And as you can see, we performed 3 rounds of viral and bacteria EQAs successfully with at least or more than 25 laboratory or participating laboratories. At least 20 laboratories assessed and implement basic and advanced diagnostic approaches, and the reports for the output indicators were produced or in progress. Oh, this is wrong. For the first task, coming to the external quality assurance exercises on the bacteria side, you see on the left side the box, the target bacteria, where they are listed, and these are all risk group 3 target bacteria, and these target has to be identified or excluded by the partner in the sample set that we provided. So we provided 3 sample sets, one with infectious samples, spiked with viable cells, and these have to be analyzed in the biosafety level 3 conditions, and then a non-infection sample with DNA spiked or inactivated bacteria spiked and serum samples. Again, on the left hand side, you see the 3 EQAs over the time, each year 1 EQA for the bacteria part, and from the results of these EQA, we can conclude that European laboratories specialized in the diagnostic of risk group 3 bacteria operated on a very high level. Some laboratories could maintain the quality over this time in their performance, whereas others increased or also some decreased their level of performance. Almost all laboratories identified correctly the causative agents of glanders, melioidosis, brucellosis, and tularemia. But we see in the last decades some problems in the diagnostic of anthrax and plague. We also measured, and this is one very important for us, that, the response time. So for the living bacteria or living samples we sent out, is it the time needed to provide the first preliminary results, diagnostic results. And this is always about 6 hours, and it doesn't change even from the former exercise and the former joint action. There's no change anymore, there's no improvement. That we think 6 hours is the fastest you can have the first diagnostic preliminary results. But there's potential for improvement. As I said before, anthrax and plague was not 100% very good in the AQAs. We always see potential in the identification of Brucella species and in the identification of Francisella tularensis subspecies. We see also sometimes problems in handling of blood samples. So there are lots of samples that we send out with blood, so see as a sepsis or something like that, and also in the quantitative analysis. Coming to the viral external quality assurance exercises, here you see also in this left box the risk group 4 viruses, with some exception of the orthopox viruses, so monkeypox is in risk group 3, for example. And here also 3 EQAs were performed in all 2020, 21, and 22. Here the viral EQAs were inactivated sample, non-infectious sample, but there is an increasing number over the time. So they start with 5 samples and end up with 10 samples. Also, from these results, we can conclude that the European level, also specialized in the diagnostic of risk group 4 viruses, operate on a very high level. So the identification of Lassa virus, Marburg Ebola virus, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus, and Nipah virus was well established, or is well established within the consortium. Within the New World arena viruses, there are some laboratories there's still some room for improvement, let's say. And we had the outbreak in 2022 with the orthopox viruses, and there's really a need for improvement, we could see. Coming to task 2, basic diagnostic and next generation sequencing. So 2 questionnaires and 2 surveys were sent out from our partners from IMMI. And the table you can see here summarize the methods used for the identification of the bacteria. And we can conclude that there are differences in the laboratory capabilities. Not all laboratories work at the same similar level, and also that capabilities changed over the year. That is depending on personal exchange on the one hand, and also on change of algorithm or new methods. And we also see methodological and technical differences. So for the bacteria part, there are not much commercial tests available, most of them for the antibody detection, and some of the partners, they still miss some equipment like sequencer or Malditov. When they perform next generation sequencing or whole genome sequencing, then mostly with Illumina for the strain identification, or the Sanger sequencing for confirmation of strains. So here you can see also this for the viral part. So also the questionnaire were performed, and here the methods used for the identification for the viruses, and we can conclude that there are also differences in the laboratory capabilities. Not all laboratories work at a similar level, but the capabilities are good for the identification of Lassa virus, Marburg virus, Ebola virus, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus, and Nipah virus. The commercial tests, they are more available for the viral part, but their differentials good. And also here they perform Illumina or Sanger sequencing, and this is often used as confirmatory methods. So at the end, we can say that EQIAs are the best way to check quality of new tests, commercial or in-house, new algorithm, and also to train personnel. Coming now to our last part, last task in this point, task 2, antimicrobial susceptibility testing, and that was very need for us to, we have the background for this, that for risk group 3 bacteria, no clinical breakpoints and guidance for dosing of antibiotics are available from the European Committee on Antimicrobial Susceptibility Testing. And in 2020, Burkholderia pseudomallii was added to UCAST, also with the partnerlets, also all the partnerlets from the AST group were involved in this one. And now we gave the data and all that they need for the definition of clinical breakpoints for Brucella, militensis, and Bacillus anthracis to UCAST. And we hope this is now enough and data for include them at the list on clinical breakpoints for 2024, and we wait for their decision on this. And now I turn over to Roland again.
Thank you, Daniela. We are coming to the indicators of specific objective 4.2 on biorisk management. And here we have fulfilled the indicators, the process indicators and output indicators during the course of the joint action. And the major outcomes were that the application of the European checklist, which we have previously developed in another joint action, has shown the maintenance of high level of biorisk management in participating laboratories. And once more, of course, we have to realize that not all partner institutes have access to BSL-3 and BSL-4 laboratories, and we need here a cooperation between different member states having or not having such high containment laboratories. Another important outcome is the development of a new guidance for biorisk management tool, which has been developed by our Swedish partners at PHS and will be validated with 5 partner laboratories soon. I mentioned the inactivation procedures. They are in place because we have used these procedures in our EQAs, described how to inactivate. However, a compendium to develop such guidance for inactivation could not yet be developed due to the specific circumstances. The new guidance tool for enhancing biorisk management is complementary to our previously developed European checklist on biorisk management. And this tool is a wide-ranging collection of resources to be utilized when establishing or maintaining a laboratory biorisk management system. Here in this guidance, we have 2 different target groups. One target group is on international and national level, like decision makers, policy makers, and experts in governmental institutions. And here we have utilized more than 30 regulations, international agreements, and guidances. And the other target group is on the organizational laboratory level, like top management, laboratory management, and biosafety professionals, and so on. And here we have collected more than 18 general and technical guidances. So it's a very helpful tool. At the end of the tool, we put a checklist on awareness of key documents so that the target groups can check whether they're up to date with all these documents. So, two last slides. The first is on sustainability. You all know, and especially our co-workers in our work package know that we have started several discussions on the sustainability, and we proposed several alternatives already started in Quantip and Emerge joint actions. And at the end of the Emerge joint action, we had a special meeting on sustainability, and the outcome was that the best choice to maintain our network is the establishment of mechanisms at EU level for long-term designation of reference laboratory networks. And we are really very happy that this idea is reflected now in the new regulation on serious cross-border threats, and especially in the Article 15 on EU reference laboratories. We know the implementation started with the program 2023, and we were also selected as a pilot priority outcome in Work Package 4. Unfortunately, I have to say that we so far do not have any specific signals that our network will be really considered in the upcoming new approach of funding at the EU level and by ECDC, and we still hope for this. So we have drawn some recommendations. The first is to further strengthen laboratory preparedness by conducting external quality assurance exercises. We need further to develop the AST for highly pathogenic bacteria, further evaluate diagnostic approaches and training, of course, and to further improve and consolidate biosafety procedures. So the main, of course, recommendation is for us to maintain the European Emerge Laboratory Network, and I think all our partners are supporting this idea. So last but not least, many thanks to the European Commission for funding, to THL as coordinators, all joint partners and EQA participants, to the staff members of the RKI, and a special thanks, of course, to Anna Rohleder, our project manager, who managed all the administrative work, especially for conducting EQAs, and finally also our financial department, which was really also a challenge with all these partners and collaborating partners to manage. Thank you very much.